This is the Stine Seedcast. I'm your host, David Thompson. Join me as we visit with growers, agronomists, seed experts, and other industry professionals about seed, agronomy, and the business of farming. Hello, and welcome to the Stine Seedcast. I'm David Thompson, National Marketing and Sales Director for Stine Seed Company. Today, we welcome back to the podcast Stine Technical Agronomist Mark Johnson. Thanks for joining us today, Mark.
Hey, my pleasure to be here. I look forward to doing this with you, David, and this is always a good time.
Great. So in this episode, we're here to talk about how you can protect your investment with soybean seed treatments. We're going to cover some of the different types of seed treatments that are out there, steps to take to choose the right seed treatment for your operation, and a rundown of Stine's own lineup of Stine XP seed treatments. So let's get started. Well, so Mark, you've been with us here on the Seedcast before, but like I always like to do, just maybe give us a level set, brief overview of your background and what you do here at Stine.
Yeah, thank you, David. Once again, my name is Mark Johnson. I am a technical agronomist for Stine. I cover south central part of the United States for the corn and soybeans, and I cover Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana. I'll get over into Mississippi, reaching to Tennessee a little bit, and even coming back to the eastern side of Kansas. So I work with a lot of geographical locations, and it's very interesting to see the way people do it from the north all the way to the far south, because it's a different arrangement of practices that we run into, or I run into.
Yeah, that's a great thing. Farming is in some ways the same everywhere you go. In some ways, it's vastly different.
They all got the end result is the same, but they get there in different avenues.
Well, so I've asked you to come here today to talk to us a little bit about soybean seed treatments. When it comes to that, we rely heavily on our team of agronomists to help us sift through all the information as it relates to seed treatments and the emerging trends and what's on growers' minds. So, and to me, when I look at soybean seed treatment as an area that's changed tremendously in just the last couple of decades, and a majority of the soybeans that are planted now in the U.S. Typically have some form of seed treatment on them, so it's a big business. In your mind, I mean, what's led to this rise in popularity of just soybean seed treatment in general?
I think there's several different factors that have really played into the more interest and the more usage of soybean seed treatments. The very first thing I'd like to say is they have changed their approach to planting. They started going a lot more earlier planting, going into colder, damper, wetter soils that we're playing with, and when that happens, you start running into other areas that soil-borne diseases, pests that play into effect. We had to develop something to help negotiate these problems as they come about. Planting early, soil-borne diseases, you got fungal diseases that come into play. The main thing we're looking for is to get that plant a good, healthy start. Getting it out of the ground, even emergence, and to give everybody a fighting chance. So, when we do that, we're trying to optimize yield by using it, and that's what the farmers are looking for. The best things that they can do to help that seed to give it the fighting chance.
Yep, that's a great synopsis. So, like you said, really we're trying to get that crop up and out of the ground, and probably one of the things that's different is, again, changes in practices, changes in timing of planting. I know here in the central part of the U.S., the focus lately has been on planting earlier and earlier, and when you do that, you're changing the environment in and around planting, and so obviously there has to be a consideration of that, and seed treatment can hopefully help with that.
As we went through this winter time and some of our customer meetings, one of the big topics that we've ran across is earlier planting soybeans. What's my take on it? What's Stine's take on it? And what varieties come into play with that? So there is interest. They're trying to spread out their risk by putting some beans in early before they plant corn. So it has been a topic that has been coming up with some of our grower meetings this winter time.
Good. So Mark, when it comes to soybean seed treatments, I mean, obviously there's a ton of different options out there for growers to consider, and a lot of different brands. So when farmers come to you looking for advice on what treatment they should be using, how do you advise them on how to decide on the best seed treatment options to put on their Stine soybeans?
So to answer the question fairly, you have to know every farmer needs to know what their issues they have in their fields, whether it's an insect pressure, is it a some other fungal diseases. SDS is a big thing that we look at nowadays. You need to know histories and know what's out there. So the main thing is knowing what you have and how to address it. We ask all these questions to try to give the farmer the best recommendations, their best the ROI, the return on investment that we can get for them, because that's what we're there for. We're there for them to help them make money and make the right choices and make the right decisions for every acre that they're planting.
So like many things, first knowing what you're up against is really key to deciding what weapon you need to use to kind of counteract that.
Oh, definitely. No, there's timing of planting. Is it a double crop? Is it early planting like we mentioned a few minutes ago? Is it planting in season? So things change, and we try to tailor our treatments to what the farmer's doing.
So talking a bit about our treatments, as I said at the outset, Stine has its own line of Stine XP seed treatments. There's some different options within the family of XP seed treatments. I wonder if you could give us a brief overview of what the options are and kind of where they fit.
Sure. So we have several different avenues that we can go down, several different options, and it does depend on what the farmer's doing and as I stated before, what problems or what hurdles that he may run into, and so we want to tailor it to best to what he is looking to avoid. And so the first one we talk about is just our standard treatment, the Stine XP fungicide, the F. It gives a wide range of protection against soil-borne fungal diseases, Pythium, Phytophthora, Fusarium. And then, if depending on if they have any pest issues and what they're trying to combat, I would say, we'd look at the Stine XP F&I, the fungicide and insecticide line. That gives us a little more protection on the insecticide against seed corn maggots, wireworms, bean leaf beetles, aphids. And then, if they're looking for the complete package, when they're looking for things that may be out there as far as soybean cysts, nematodes, SDS, we got an offering for that. We call it the Stine Complete Seed Treatment 2.0. It's a revised, so where all the time we are trying to improve, giving our customers the best options for their acres. With the Stine Complete, we add a few more things in there. We up some rates of some components to help combat against the SDS, to combat against the SCN. So we're continue trying to improve. Also within Stine Complete, we've got Heads Up in there too, another component that addresses Roxactonia, SDS, SCN. So we have a wider range of treatments to fit to everybody's concerns or needs out there. Another one that I'd just like to briefly talk on, we have been talking and working with Syngenta. They have a new product out there called Column, and it is a SDS component that's worked very well. It also works against soybean cyst nematodes, so that's something that's come to play. We're realizing that SCN is in more areas than people realize. A lot of times within our testing programs that we do with our product developmental plots, we go out and take soil samples, and we're also checking for nematodes in these areas. And when you go back and talk to some of the farmers, they had no idea because they've never treated and never tested for soybean cysts. So interesting things that you run across in the things that I do.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That Column product is a product that we have cooperatively through Syngenta, and like I said, it's another solution outside of our XP family, but that can be applied to Stine soybeans. It can be very effective and combined with either XP or some other products that we have. So all aimed at providing a multiple or a range of solutions that growers are going to need, because you're right, not every acre is the same, not every field is the same, not every situation is the same, and so hopefully we can work with them to craft a treatment solution that's going to work for them. Of course, it occurs to me as we sit here today that obviously input costs are kind of paramount in everybody's mind. Everybody's looking to make sure they've got the sharpest pencil and make sure they get the most value for their seed input dollars. So in this day and age, I guess my question is, how should farmers look at their soybean seed treatment, at least as it relates to their crop management strategy? I mean, do they need to look at it as a must-have, or is it just more of a nice-to-have?
So I can talk several different avenues on this, because I've had people that swear that they plant late enough in the season where they don't worry about the cold, damp soils. And then I've had farmers where they insist they want to put it on everything. In my mind, and I know of a lot of other agronomists and other seed farmers, soybean farmers, it's a must-have. Even for later planted crops, soybeans, you can always get a return on your investment on even if it's just a fungicide. Some of these soybean fields that are planted in June, there still can be some phytophthora, some pythium, some fusarium. There's still some soil-borne diseases that could be present that could affect yield. If you're planting in April, you're planting in the 1st of April or whatever it may be for corn, it's a no-brainer. It's a return on investment like no other. It is a must-have in my book. A real quick example: had a farmer call me down to look at his crop. He planted up to the place where he run out of seed, and had a perfect stand. And then he filled back up and went back to planting, and it was I say total loss, but it was 80% reduction in yield in stand. And once I started asking questions, he didn't put the fungicide on because he was in a hurry. And he said, never had it happen before. And I said, well, it don't take but one instance to cause the trouble. So it was a great example for me to see it, for him to see it. And as he said, he'll not plant another soybean without some kind of seed treatment on it.
Yeah, and like everything that comes with planting, it's like you only get one chance to do it right. And if it's done wrong, you'll never get good from it. So that's a good example. Like you said, it probably depends on the factors, depends on the weather and the environment and the timing. But a lot of cases they look at it as just almost like good insurance, right? At the end of the day, when you need it, you really need it. And if you didn't need it, it probably didn't hurt you. But
well, for the cost of what a seed treatment is, it's a great investment to protect yield. And it don't take a bushel or two to pay for a good seed treatment. And the return on that, on what you're putting into it, it'll take care of that and then some.
So we talked here about the Stine XP lineup, Stine XPF, F&I, Stine Complete 2.0, a little bit about the column product. I mean, what other things are you seeing in that soybean seed treatment sphere that are either new, emerging, interesting things that you've been seeing as you've been out and about?
So I know we're pretty excited about a product that's going to be available for us, especially for us here in a few years. Nemosphere is a new product that's going to be coming that we will be testing. It's for a nematode resistant trait. So we're pretty excited about that. That's something that's coming from BASF, and we are working hand in hand with BASF with this. So it's the first and only biotechnical trait for soybean cyst nematode. So we're pretty excited about that. We're hoping, and this is a hope, that we have a full-scale launch on this by 2029. That's the plans. I know it's going into testing this year with us, and so we're excited about that. We're trying to get people to start thinking about other ways to combat the nematodes. And like I say, as I mentioned before, people they have them and have trouble with them. They don't even know it.
Yeah, and that is an exciting development. Like you said, we've, of course, known of gene resistance, PI88, 788, and Peking for years. This is a biotech solution that if you took that and you add it with some of these other potentially seed treatment options, could really be, a big help to those growers who are battling with soybean cyst year in and year out.
Yeah, being it's a trait version, it is something that it's stackable. It can be put out there on its own, or it could be working in hand with the two other options that we have, with the Peking and the PI 8878. So 88. So there's gives us another option to help work with them diseases.
So while I got you here, I guess I'm just curious, as you went into, as we look back at the year that was in 2024 and to the year that is fast coming up on us in 2025, what are kind of the big news items from the area that you work in? What are some things that were on your mind as the season closed and that growers are looking at for 2025?
So we ran into a lot of different obstacles, which everybody does every year. It's
Yeah.
just every year is different. It's a change. It's continuously changing atmosphere, things that we run into, things that we do. This year we had wet spraying, delayed planting, more delayed planting. In them instances where the seed treatments played a big role, especially on the soybean side. With that being said, there was a few things that jumped up at us with the hurricanes that come up out of the south and moved way far north into some of our territories, brought some different animals that we worked with a little bit. So one thing that we saw this year that was different was that moved into our area was corn stunt coming from from the hurricanes that may have blew up the corn leaf hopper, and it's known from being down in South America and across some part of the southern parts of the United States. But this year we brought it all the way up into Missouri, where we started seeing some of it. It almost looks like like maybe top dieback happens, then it just that leaf hopper just really sucks the juice out of the corn plant. And we saw instances where it was one stalk for, in some areas it could be sections of the field. So, with that being said, we're hoping that it don't play back into effect. Hopefully the wintertime, the temperatures will kill them off, and we won't have that issue again for a while with the hurricanes. You never know what that may bring. Another thing or two that I saw this year, we saw tar spot move into the southern part of Missouri. As it's been across the corn belt here for several years now, but we actually got a confirmed case of it down in the Joplin area. Me and for Region 9 RSA, Aaron Stockton, called me up one day and he said, "Hey, we got something down here that's plumb strange that I don't think should be here." So within a day or two, I got down there and took a look at it, and we got a hold of the extension service within Missouri, University of Missouri, and they was shocked to hear that we had found it. And with that being said, it was in one of our PDP plots, so we had the opportunity to see how it moved in and how it affected, even though it come very late and didn't ever really affect the yield because of the timing of it. And a lot of times that comes into play with tar spot. But it was interesting to see that it can move that far south. So that's something that we'll monitor a little bit more this coming year and the years to come, because we know that it can travel down there. And I guess probably the last one that was sure enough off the beaten path would be the red crown rot. Had an episode of it around St. Joe, Missouri. When we got in there taking a look, they didn't really see the symptoms earlier on, but as the combine was rolling through, yields took a nosedive in areas. Then we got in there doing a little more digging and a little more looking, and that's what we suspected it to be. So just interesting things, and hopefully, as the seed treatments come along and as we try to work with the farmers and these diseases, these pests that come along, we can start making some changes and some adjustments to help combat some of these problems that they're having.
Well, it occurs to me there's no shortage of pests and diseases, so it's good that you guys are on the job to help these growers out. As I think about that, I guess, is there anything, as we sit here again, just probably in the area you work with, we're not too far away from planting if you really add up the days. So as you think about that, what do you advise growers in that area to be thinking about as they're sitting here in what we consider dead of winter? But like I said, planting will be here before we know it.
And you're exactly right, David. The timing for corn planting will be coming up on pretty quick in the southern part of my territory, Louisiana. I was actually talking with the ISR today, and he said that there'll be people planting around Valentine's Day, if not real close. If it's warm, if the soil's warmed up enough, especially since they've had the little cold snap, so that might change their attitude a little bit down there. They've saw things this winter that they haven't seen. Some of them have never seen with snowfall down there. But the end of February, the planters will start rolling. I know my PDP plots in Louisiana, in Mississippi, they'll go in, and that second week of March on the corn side. So that's coming up really quick. Make sure your planters are all set. Make sure you've done your soil testing. Make sure you know what's there, and have all the I's dotted and T's crossed, and to set up for a productive and a very good harvest season.
And hopefully, if you're using a seed treatment, you've done your homework and you figured out which is the right option
That's correct.
for you. So as we wrap up our conversation today, Mark, I guess I'm curious if growers want to learn more about any of the XP products we talked about today or anything from Stine around the seed treatment sphere, what would you recommend where can they go for more information?
Well, anytime they can always get a hold of their RSAs. Anybody within the agronomy group would be more than willing to talk with them. They can reach out to us, and we can definitely do that. But if they want to get some stuff online, where it's available, they can go to our website and look underneath the soybean section from the homepage and just search for Stine XP.
Awesome. Well, Mark, it's always good to have you here. Appreciate you coming and giving your expertise, and appreciate everything you do for our grower customers. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, David.
Thank you for listening to the Stine Seedcast. To never miss an episode, subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice. Have a question for our experts? Email asktheseedcast@stineseed.com to have your questions answered on a future episode. To learn more about Stine Seed Company, visit stineseed.com. And remember, Stine has yield.